Welcome to the Let's Eat Grandma Career Warrior Podcast.
Let's delve into the concept of the hidden job market, which is something that I know you love talking about. And then I want to go into external recruiters, since this is recruiter month. I think that would be valuable to delve into as well. But in your opinion, first of all, what is the hidden job market? And second of all, how are the most successful job seekers taking advantage of it?
Yeah, and I think let's just start, Chris, with just a basic definition and understanding, and we can build, off of that. So the way I like to describe the public job market is any job that you can see and that is advertised publicly. And that can be in a variety of different places. That can be on a job board like Indeed. That can be, just on a company website. But kind of by definition, if everybody can see it, it's public. And that can be in a variety of different places. I think to define the hidden job market, it's jobs that, are out there that people can't see, that are being filled consistently without any public job posting. And if you look at the estimates in Forbes and other places who've quoted this over the years, it's up to 75% of jobs are filled in the hidden job market. And so that to me is where the huge disconnect is between how jobs are actually filled and how job seekers are looking for jobs. And that's usually square one, where I start with job seekers to make sure that, that we have that understanding.
Well, let me just clarify something. Yeah. The hidden job market, you're telling me that these are jobs that aren't posted anywhere. Like, I know they're being hired and I know they're being filled through the hidden job market, which we'll talk about, but is there an obligatory job posting on Indeed that people may just know that isn't going to be checked, or you're just saying that's not posted at all, correct?
Yeah, no, it's a good clarification, and that's correct. And just to share a recent email from this morning in my recruiting business, we just got a role to work on to fill. And when I talked to the internal talent acquisition person and asked for a copy of the job description, they couldn't send it to me because the hiring manager said that this search was confidential, meaning it's probably going to replace someone who is currently employed there. So,
Interesting.
Front and center case of just recently today where this job can't be posted for confidentiality reasons, because the person is probably being replaced who's currently in the role.
Okay. So one of the things that kind of stuck with me during our last conversation was you said that 25% of people are playing in a larger pond, so to speak, and vast majority, like 75% of people, are playing in the smaller pond. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, I try and make sure that we have a visual analogy, right, when I work with job seekers early on, so that we are on the same page in terms of understanding of how jobs are filled, where most of the jobs are, and where most people are looking, and where most people are not looking, right? And I would say, after taking inventory over the years with job seekers, that most job seekers today spend at least 75% of their time. I would argue it may be up to 80 or 90% of their time focused on the public job market.
Right.
And so you have this vast majority of job seekers searching, competing, and looking for jobs in a pond that is arguably where 25% of the jobs are filled. And meanwhile, you have another pond, the hidden job market, that, where I would argue that probably 75% of the jobs are, and only 25% of the people are looking. So it's completely reversed of how you should be, conducting your job search, and what I would argue are best practices in 2020.
Yeah.
And what's interesting about this, Chris, is I've talked to people recently who are just recent college grads. I just talked to someone yesterday who's an executive who's been in this in her professional career for probably almost 30 years now. And yet she still had to, after this recent job search she's in now, she said, Chris, I applied to roughly 50 jobs online and I haven't gotten one response yet for an interview. And so this thing really spans
Yep.
from beginning to end of career, where I see
Yep.
people, struggling with this concept
Yep.
and knowing how to really, kind of seek and find the best jobs.
To keep wrapping it back to the concept of the hidden job market,
Yeah.
it just that's what boggles me right now. It kind of blows my mind. Like, how would I know that these jobs exist if I don't see them posted anywhere? I think we're kind of gravitating towards using LinkedIn as the source of finding out, but um, how does LinkedIn connectivity and networking turn into hidden jobs?
Yeah. And so going back to what I said, where internal recruiters and external recruiters, both using the platform to reach out directly to
Right.
job seekers. Take, for instance, the message I got this morning about this confidential role. So how are we going to go and find people who we think are qualified to interview for it,
Hmm.
right? We are going to reach out to our network, in terms of the database that we have and people
Okay.
whose resumes we have and we've worked with over the years who may be a fit. But then our other main channel is going to be LinkedIn, to go and review people's profiles and see who may be a good fit, have the right qualifications, and we're going to confidentially reach out to them with a one-on-one message and see if they're open to new opportunities and start a dialogue
Yeah.
with them. And so those are the two main ways these things happen.
What would the process look like if I am looking to go out and find the best jobs for me? How can I partner with an external recruiter to get that dream job?
Yeah, and just touching back, and I know I'm kind of beating the table here on this one, but making sure your profile's updated, because what will happen over time, if it is,
Sure.
you will start to see a pattern of the recruiters who work in your industry and or your niche, reaching out to you consistently. And so if you see a pattern of the same recruiter or small group of recruiters reaching out to you, that's the type of recruiters you want to build longer term relationships with. So even though you're not looking, I still think, even if you're not looking, I should say, I think it still makes sense to respond to those messages, set up calls, get to know them, build a long-term relationship.
Sure.
And that way, you can start to stay much more in the flow of what's going on in your industry and niche or your job function or role. Because if you do that correctly, and I have a subset of people, that I continuously communicate with about, new openings, confidential job searches we're doing, and, I always tell job seekers to go to recruiters with a giving hand. So don't make it a one-way street. It's not, what do you have for me? What do you have for me? What do you have for me? Right. It's also, what can I do for you? Are there any searches that you're
Okay.
working on that, maybe I can help you fill with someone in my network who may be looking. So make it a two-way street. But, going back to your question, make sure your LinkedIn profile's updated. Excuse me. And, make sure that then you respond to recruiters' messages if you see a pattern building. And then I think to go to your question around how do you find recruiters, you can also do some advanced search work within LinkedIn,
Okay.
to find external recruiters who are operating in your niche.
So, okay, makes a lot of sense to me. Let's say that I have a really shiny LinkedIn profile. It looks really good. I don't have the best or the biggest volume of people reaching out to me, just maybe because I haven't optimized it perfectly. I haven't seen Chris at Let's Eat Grandma to work on my LinkedIn profile. You alluded to it earlier, but are there ways that I could, I guess, type in and search for these recruiters using certain keywords to reach out to them first? What would you recommend there?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. And, if you look at, for instance, we'll use my profile as an example for EQ
Mhm.
search. I mean, it's very clear if you look at my profile that I recruit in the life sciences and healthcare industries. And so I constantly have job seekers finding my profile, on
Yeah.
LinkedIn, who are in kind of the industry and space that I'm in, just through doing some pretty basic keyword searches and, reaching out to start to build a relationship. So I think with some basic, advanced search filters within LinkedIn is probably the most efficient way, to find recruiters who are working in your niche, and reach out to them, send a message. And, the message doesn't have to be anything complex, depending on your situation. If you're currently looking, or, if you're opportunistically looking, start a dialogue and get a call, set up a call and see, if you can align on what space this recruiter or headhunter works in versus your background and how much of a match is there, and you'll know pretty quickly if that aligns or if it doesn't, because there's a lot of sub niches within kind of certain spaces and industries. And, and I think it's important to kind of recognize that.